Now let's continue studying A Journey to the West. A Journey to the West covers 10 stops in total. We're currently on the 4th stop. The 4th stop has quite a lot of content, so we definitely won't finish it this year. But now that we've reached the Chetsun Dzogchen section, this Chetsun Dzogchen is actually very profound. Generally, it shouldn't be taught publicly like this, but the preliminary portion, we can share some of that. Actually, this contains many profound practices. As I mentioned in the preface, I hope that for those who wish to study and practice all of it, you must have received the Anuttara Yoga empowerment. This requirement also applies when we release the Tibetan version later. We have this requirement as well because if we don't receive it now, we may not have the opportunity later. So for those who haven't received the empowerment, you may obtain the text. But if you want to practice, receiving the Anuttara Yoga empowerment is very important for what comes later. Just reading some of the middle sections won't be an issue. Nowadays in Tibetan Buddhism, whether it's empowerments or tantras, just reading them doesn't really require strict secrecy anymore. So this time is a bit different from before. Isn't it that His Holiness taught at the Lincoln Theatre for quite a long time? Their request was to have His Holiness teach the Chetsun Dzogchen. At that time, it was rarely taught in Tibetan areas. So among all the existing teachings His Holiness gave on the Chetsun Dzogchen, this is the only one. So everyone should cherish it. We've covered part of it before. Now let's continue. In the earlier translation school of Ngagyor Nyingma, there are two ways of explaining the Great Perfection. One is the profound Kusali approach, and the other is the extensive Pandita approach. Among these, the two Mother Nyingtig and two Child Nyingtig texts, which approach do they belong to? They follow the style of the profound Kusali approach. Previously, when we worked on the words of my perfect teacher, His Holiness wrote a brief preface. In that preface, he said that the words of my perfect teacher is a guide that combines all the instructions of both the profound Kusali and extensive Pandita approaches. That's why His Holiness said it that way. So this is the profound Kusali approach. As for the extensive Pandita approach, what follows is all about that. So what is the extensive Pandita approach like? It's as follows: the 17 tantras of the quintessential secret heart essence cycle, plus the wrathful black mother tantra, plus the blazing clear expanse tantra, 19 tantras in total. We mentioned 17 tantras earlier. Adding these two tantras to that, these are referred to as the mother texts. When it comes to the explanation of these tantras, it is not through the original words of Buddha Vajradhara, but rather through the Pith Instructions of the great Vidyadharas. These explanations are referred to as the texts of the heirs. These terms and their explanations, many of our resident Dharma friends here may not have known about them before. So far, yes, this is still about the extensive Pandita approach. In the extensive Pandita approach, both mother and child texts are well explained as the fundamental texts, the mother texts and child texts I just mentioned. The method of explanation is together with the special words and instructions of the Guru as a supplement. Good examples of this would be Omniscient Longchenpa's 7 Treasures and Trilogy of Rest. That's how it's explained. Omniscient Longchenpa's 7 Treasures hasn't been fully translated yet. I once made a vow to translate the entire 7 Treasures in my lifetime, but I'm not sure. Life is limited after all, perhaps only part of it in this lifetime. I may not be able to complete the whole thing. The Trilogy of Rest has already been translated. I originally wanted to translate the Treasury of Precious Qualities. The Treasury of Precious Qualities is extremely difficult. So when I got to the 2nd chapter, I had to pause yesterday. There's really no way around it. Jigme Lingpa's style of poetic composition. I'll take a break for now. I'm not saying I won't translate it. If possible in the future, perhaps this treatise, I believe there's an English version, but in Chinese there wasn't one before. So this time I really wanted to, but it seems temporarily difficult. Many of the analogies in it are difficult, and the great master whose commentary I chose, his style of analogy is also difficult, so I spent a long time on it, continuously, but now I can't get through it. Taking a break for now. After so many years of translating, I've never encountered anything like this, so I'll take a break for now. Then after a while, I'll translate something simpler first, then look at other things. If I return to it after some time, it should be doable. If it really doesn't work out, we'll see later. So that's the situation with the 7 treasures. The hidden meanings of Padmasambhava are primarily elucidated through all the various Terma teachings revealed by the 100 great Tertons and many other ones. Although Padmasambhava had 25 disciples, including the king and the ministers, the guru was most satisfied by 3 disciples. They are the great Khandro Yeshe Sogyal, the great Dharma king Trisong Detsen, and Nanam Dorje Dujom, a previous incarnation of His Holiness. In particular, the one who most pleased Guru Rinpoche was Nanam Dorje Dujom. He was Guru Rinpoche's most favorite and outstanding disciple, surpassing even the great Dharma king Trisong Detsen. For this reason, Nanam Dorje Dujom's subsequent reincarnations, those who came back to this world in successive lifetimes, the treasure teachings on the great perfection they revealed, are more profound and complete than any other Terma revelations. This shows how important interdependence is. When you please your teacher, it affects a disciple's activities, not just in this life, but throughout all successive lifetimes. There's a difference. His Holiness gave an example here. For instance, a previous incarnation of His Holiness was Rigdzin Godem. His unimpeded wisdom, intent of Samantabhadra. I wonder if it was transmitted this year. The Atizabdon was transmitted at that time. The unimpeded wisdom intent was transmitted elsewhere. Rinpoche transmitted it this year too. This is a very important teaching. I once spoke about it before and did a simple oral translation at that time. The great Terton Lerab Lingpa's commentary on the Chetsun Nyingtig is called Wisdom Bindu. I did translate it, but some parts are quite difficult to understand. I got stuck there. The initial draft is finished, because I thought this is Lerab Lingpa's work, a previous incarnation of His Holiness, and His Holiness also taught it before. I translated it the year before last. Perhaps the final draft, it's stuck there now too. So in life there are things you really want to do, but sometimes they're not as simple as you'd imagine. For this one, relatively speaking, perhaps due to blessings of the 3 jewels and His Holiness's permission, this journey to the West really, I mentioned it to you a few times last year. It seems like I completed everything in just over 3 months. Looking at it now, writing the Tibetan and translating into Chinese, both completed in 3 months, it's a bit inconceivable in a way. Maybe there was some other kind of help, otherwise just copying it down would have been difficult enough. First composing it in Tibetan, then translating it into Chinese, these 2 projects, I didn't have any other main helpers. Later there were some proofreaders, yes, but I wrote it all down myself, word by word, and translated it this way. So it was quite challenging. Among all my translation work, this was the smoothest one, this journey to the West. I never expected that in such a short time. Some projects have taken many years already, but I just couldn't continue. Taking a break for a while, then a few more months, then stopping again for several months. Anyway, it keeps getting interrupted. So this Wisdom Bindu, I did translate it, but if in the future I can proofread it, that should be about enough. These Dzogchen teachings are easy to understand and possess immensely powerful blessings. So, what will I be teaching at this time? What His Holiness is teaching this time is mainly the text that summarizes the key points of Padmasambhava's Pith Instructions as its essence, and on this basis follows the teaching system of the great Pandita Vimalamitra, the Chetsun Nyingtig. Because omniscient Longchenpa's teachings are mostly based on Padmasambhava's instructions, the Chetsun Dzogchen is based on Vimalamitra's instructions. Although the Lama Yangtig is a compilation of many of Vimalamitra's instructions in our close lineage, the close lineage in the human realm, the Chetsun Nyingtig is considered the most important. The Longchen Nyingtig has become the most important pith instruction of Padmasambhava. As for the Chetsun Nyingtig, it carries the most essential close lineage blessings of Vimalamitra. That's why the Chetsun Nyingtig is so renowned. This is the reason what His Holiness is teaching this time is based on the hidden meanings of Padmasambhava, but mainly follows the pith instructions of the great Pandita Vimalamitra. This is called the Chetsun Nyingtig. The origin of the Chetsun Nyingtig is as follows. 282 years after the great Pandita Vimalamitra departed in his rainbow body to Mount Wutai, he personally accepted Chetsun Senge Wangchuk as his disciple. Chetsun Sengye Wangchuk in the history of Tibetan Tantric Buddhism. There's a biography of Chetsun Sengye Wangchuk. You can learn about it yourselves. He was a most important figure. After Vimalamitra went there, he personally accepted Chetsun Sengye Wangchuk as his disciple and transmitted all his empowerments and instructions to him, all the empowerments, pith instructions, and guidance texts. The great Chetsun did not attain ultimate realization until the age of 75. However, after his enlightenment, he did not encounter suitable disciples. Thus, he stayed in this world for a long time until the age of 125. Eventually, he demonstrated nirvana. When he demonstrated nirvana, his body dissolved into a mass of light. He transformed completely into a rainbow body. At that time, through the supplication of Palgi Lodro and other Dakinis, he reappeared in his rainbow light body and gave this Chetsun Nyingtik pith instruction to the Dakinis. Just like the pith instructions of the four Vidyadharas, this is how it manifested. This teaching was then taken by the Dakinis to their own pure realms. It temporarily disappeared from the human realm, from Chetsun Sengye Wangchuk until, if you calculate it must have been many years, until before Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo appeared. We should check when Chetsun Sengye Wangchuk demonstrated his passing into nirvana. Until before Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo appeared, the Dakinis had taken it to the pure realms. Later, the holder of the 7 special qualities of transmission, Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo. In Tibetan Buddhism, he mastered all 7 lineages. We usually speak of 6, 7, 8, or 5 major lineages. The counting differs in Tibet. In any case, Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo was thoroughly versed in all lineages, whether Sakya, Gelug, Kagyu, or any other. He was also involved in many works, including the Treasury of Precious Termas and many other monumental texts that were published. He was Maifam Rinpoche's root guru, Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo. Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo revealed this teaching through recollection of his previous life. The Chetsun Nyingtik was his primary root teaching. Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo was the reincarnation of Chetsun Sengye Wangchuk. At the request of the Dakinis at that time, this story is told in more detail in other teachings. If you want to learn more, it's covered extensively in Histories of Dzogchen Buddhism. This teaching has 3 sections of pith instructions. We usually call them the 3 sections of pith instructions. The first section includes the empowerment that can bring those whose minds are not yet tamed to maturity, practice methods of the actual path, and an explanation of the subsidiary aspects of the path. These are the 3 aspects of the content. The second section delineates the practice sadhana of the complete and authentic stages of the path, from taking refuge and generating bodhicitta, to the dedication of merit and recitation of auspicious verses at the end, all the rituals. That's the broad overview of the first 2 sections. The third section explains in succession the preliminary practice, the actual practice, and the concluding practice. The preliminary practice is further divided into 3 subdivisions. The actual practice of Trekcho is also divided into 3 subdivisions, and the concluding practice of Togal is also divided into 3 subdivisions. In this way, the teaching is structured in 3 groups of 3 subdivisions. The third section is divided this way. Therefore, this teaching is also known as the Great Chetsun's Profound Essence of Vimalamitra in 3 sections. You can call it the 3 sections of Profound Essence, or the 3 sections of Heart Essence, the Chetsun Dzogchen in 3 sections. We usually call it the 3 sections because it only has 3 sections. So this is the most representative Chetsun Dzogchen teaching in our human world. When I first came to the academy, I was doing the 500,000 preliminary practices, but I still had a bit of the mandala offering left to complete. So His Holiness at that time taught the Chetsun Dzogchen to a small group, about 50 people or so. I didn't get to attend at that time, so I personally went to find His Holiness. I asked if I could join if I promised to practice diligently afterward. His Holiness spoke to me very kindly and said, "This time, anyone who hasn't completed the preliminary practices is not included, not even one person. You should complete your practice first. I will definitely teach it again in the future." I was so heartbroken at that time. I wanted it so badly. That eager desire for the Dharma when I first arrived at the academy. Many of you now may not understand it. Do you have that kind of urgency? It was so intense. No matter what, I would try every possible way. If I couldn't receive these teachings, it felt as if living in this world would have no meaning at all. I wanted it so much, so I personally went. At that time, His Holiness didn't have a doorman at noon. I went in myself. After going in, I said, I really want to receive the Chetsun Dzogchen. Is it possible this time? At that time, His Holiness wasn't teaching in the main hall. In his own courtyard, there was a small room. He was teaching about 50 people there. I didn't get to receive it then. I was very sad afterward. But later, His Holiness taught it at the academy and also abroad. So I received it several times. That made me quite happy. Now I'm going to explain this teaching by following the root text. First is to pay homage. First is the praise and homage. Among the three sections, first there is, I prostrate to the deity of self-occurring awareness. This sentence means, the Dharmata, or the true nature of your mind, is not a result generated by a cause. It is also not the Buddha arising from the ordinary mind. And it is not the instruction based on scriptures. These are the first three of the 6 features of the great perfection. These are the 3 features. Therefore, by recognizing the true face of Rigpa, you pay homage to the deity of self-occurring awareness. This is the explanation of that opening line. Among the 3 sections of the text, the main body of the first has 2 subdivisions, the history and the Pith Instructions for actual practice. The history portion includes how the great Chetsun gave this teaching, as well as how Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo would later uphold this teaching in the lineage. As I have already covered this section in great detail during the empowerment this morning, I will not elaborate further on it here. Originally, we wanted to include His Holiness's explanation in this section, but the audio of that empowerment we couldn't obtain until later. By the time this book was nearly complete, we got it. But once we got it, aside from the empowerment ritual itself, there wasn't much explanation, so it wasn't included here. The history is available in many sources, so it wasn't included. His Holiness gave this empowerment twice during his trip to America. One was in New York. At that time I translated into Chinese, and then it was translated into English. That's included in our 2nd volume. Here in Napa Valley, His Holiness gave the Chetsun Dzogchen empowerment. In the morning, he explained the entire history in greater detail. Please read about this yourselves. It should be in the history of Tibetan Tantric Buddhism. Anyway, let's stop here for now. As I've already covered this in detail this morning, I won't elaborate further here. If you have access, please read about Chetsun Sengge Wangchuk, how the Chetsun Nyingtik was established at that time. This is something you can explore on your own if you have time. But right now there are exams. Focus on your exams first. When I mention exams, some people's hearts skip a beat. Thump! Wow, so there's this thing coming up, such a hassle. What to do? What if I don't do well? Don't worry. I'll recite more Guru Rinpoche mantras so that you all do your best. Everyone gets 100. I'll recite extra blessings for you, okay? Alright, that's all for today.
Kirgana jirano chukai chupun solen droa droa bandangara badna asadorda bandangara badna asadorda bandangara badna asadorda